a famous Tory. What's a Tory?
You talking about the British government?
I was going to say a British patriot, but I'm not quite sure.
Yes, it was an American who was a British patriot. They were the ones who sided with the British on during the American Revolution, and he was a committed, avowed Tory, and vocal about it, and hated Washington.
So good.
And he was coming home from a trip through Valley Forge in that terrible winter. And he came upon Washington kneeling in the snow praying. And he hid behind a tree and observed him praying. Washington apparently never knew he was there. When he was finished praying, got up and went back to his men. The man slipped out from behind the tree and made his way home, walked into his family house and said, we are joining the colonial supporters as of this day.
Wow.
He said, no man
So we heard him praying out loud?
who prays the way Washington prays will ever lose this fight. The British are doomed.
Wow.
The British cause is over. The God of the universe will answer the prayers of George Washington.
Wow. Wow.
And if you look closely at that picture, in the background there are a number of trees. You will, if you look very closely at that picture, you will see about this much of a face of a man peeking out from behind one of those trees. And that is recorded, that incident is recorded in that painting. And that's why that painting became so broadly, because that prayer had such an impact on a person who was utterly committed against Washington's cause. And just one of the rules of testimony, what is one of the most important rules of testimony?
Eyewitness?
Being humble.
Truth.
To show how you've changed.
No,
When it goes against human nature.
you're in the ballpark.
Repentance?
When it goes to a godly nature?
You're thinking Christian. I'm thinking courtroom. What is one of the most important rules of testimony?
Truth would be a real big one.
But how do you discern what's truth? Because saying truth,
When you don't have nothing to gain from it.
but here's, you're getting.
Oh, when it's a witness against someone that's the opposite of you.
Yes!
Yeah,
What is the most
God.
important witness in eyewitness testimony?
When your enemy is.
Your
The
enemy.
hostile or enemy witness. If my friends testify for me, I'm accused of murder, and 6 guys, that are my great buddies sit there, oh no, it couldn't have been him, he was playing cards with us that night. Can you say, oh, there's 6 of them saying that, it must be true?
No,
Why?
because they're your friends.
Because they're my friends. They might be lying for me. Do friends lie for friends?
Yes.
Yes. But if my worst enemy, the person who's constantly been trying to get me driven out of my house and force me out of town, stands up and says, well, I know he didn't do it because I was in my house watching him and he was in his house all night. And I was trying to figure out how I could get him, but he was there and I can't lie. He was there all night. Now, can you believe that testimony?
Yeah.
Pretty likely.
And you said that's called a hostile witness?
A hostile witness or a testimony by your enemy. And what was this man's that was watching, whose face you can see behind that tree in the picture? Washington's enemy. So that is hostile testimony. It wasn't his friend saying, oh man, Washington's prayers are. It was his enemy saying, Washington's prayers, and I'm going to change side because God will not ignore that prayer. So just a fascinating background on that.
Great, thank you for sharing that.
Washington was a British guy.
Oh, he was. Well, how many
Yeah.
American citizens were there in the American
And
Revolution?
He
None.
changed his
None.
allegiance.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Zero.
They all came from over there.
How many citizens were there in America?
0.
Zero.
What were there?
Indians.
Every single person in the Revolution was what?
British.
British.
A British subject, correct.
Entity, right.
Because Britain doesn't have citizens. They are a monarchy. You are subjects of the king or queen. Was everybody on and catch that thing about the difference between burdens and loads?
No, we did that before prayer.
I know, but there were a bunch of people on. Were there people who weren't on for the difference between burdens and loads?
I didn't hear it.
I joined like a minute before 7. I didn't hear it.
I want to go back through this because there are people who guilt people in the church. And there is a whole movement within Christianity to try to say that Christians should be good communists. The Pope is that. That we should be taking care of everyone equally.
Socialist.
But Galatians 6 verses 2 to 4 set up a dichotomy.
What's a dichotomy?
It means there's two different things, not just one.
Thank you.
Verse 2, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. Each one should test his own actions. Then he can take pride in himself without comparing himself to someone else. For each one should carry his own load. So what is the dichotomy here? What are the two things?
Load. Burden and load.
Carry your
Burden
own and you carry others.
and load. What is the command about loads?
Carry your own load.
Carry your own load. What is the command about burdens?
Share
Help other
burdens.
people.
Carry other people's burdens. So in the church, we have to be very clear between burdens and loads. Because if we carry loads for other people, we are not fulfilling the law of Christ. We are doing something different than that. And if we don't help with burdens, we are not fulfilling the law of Christ. So we have to differentiate. What is the difference? I know we just went over this, but I really want to drive this home because we have to understand it. What is a load? What is a load?
It's your responsibility, or like to eat, to
A regular,
provide.
Debt,
a regular thing that you have to deal with.
debtors and
The regular things that it takes to survive in this life. Things like your mortgage, your car payment, your food bill, your electric bill. Those are all loads. Who is responsible for your load?
You are.
You are. What then would be a burden?
Well, like I said earlier, like a fire, your house burning down.
Your house burns down and you lose everything. And especially in this day, and the insurance company's dragging its feet. What is that?
Burden.
That's a
it's a
burden.
burden.
And we should help with someone. That's why when somebody's house burns down, people say, oh, we're going to collect bedding, we're going to collect towels, we're going to collect clothes, so that they've got something until the situation starts to resolve itself.
Yeah, even when Joy and I went through the stuff with Kata Girl, it was like an a financial need out of nowhere. So even like meeting that burden for like the GoFundMe.
Absolutely. Having a child that is born with huge medical bills. Yep. What would be another one?
Something happened to you where you were
Medically.
from
Some kind of health issue, a sudden heart attack, and you can't work. A sudden, now, what should you be doing as part of your load in our society?
Preparing
I'm sorry?
yourself, preparing yourself, having some type of,
Make
you
sure you
know,
have health insurance.
exactly.
Yeah, you should have health insurance, you should have life insurance, you should have things, that's part of your load.
Homeowner's insurance.
My uncle, my mother's youngest brother, died at 72, which might not have been horrible, except that he had his youngest child at 54.
Ooh.
Oh,
So his youngest child was graduating high school the month he died.
Wow.
He was a doctor, but he had made decisions and had lost his license for a period of time and was working at that point before he had to go into hospice on a reduced license where he had to have oversight. But he had $1 million policy, which would have set his family up pretty well. Oh,
That's not good.
Amen,
We just
Lord.
lost everybody.
uh-oh.
Yeah, we can
Linkage.
hear you, but we lost video.
Turn
You
it
just
back
gotta.
on?
There they are.
It's-
Wow, that's impressive. The computer didn't go down, just the TV.
Okay.
Is that a load or a burden?
Good job.
Hey, yeah, we had a power surge here. Sorry.
Faith
we
comes
just
from
had one in our
seeing.
house too. Our lights just flickered.
Yeah,
Faith
that's
comes
what
from hearing,
happened.
not seeing.
I have to give credit to that computer company. That's impressive.
Yeah. What can you do with a life insurance policy if you are terminal? And
Take some
everyone
out.
should know this. It has to be $100,000 or more life insurance policy, but $100,000 policy
You
is
can
not
sell
that
it.
big.
You can
Well, that's
sell it.
what I got, 100,000.
You can sell them.
It's term.
Doesn't matter. You can sell a policy if you are terminal.
Really?
Really. What that means is I
It's way
invest.
down.
I invest.
My payments have gone up tremendously because I'm
But
68 years old.
you've gotta be terminal.
terminal.
And what that means is you sell me your policy. Let's say that they give you 6 months or a year to live. Doesn't guarantee that that's gonna be that. But as an investor, I go, okay, I'll take that risk. I buy your life insurance policy. I continue to pay the premiums on it. You don't have to pay the premiums. I give you, let's say it's a $100,000 policy. I give you $50,000 today. You can use that for your treatment.
For my kids.
When you die, what happens?
You get it.
I get the $100,000.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah. He could have sold it, probably at that point for $700,000. Maybe he gotten a little less, but not much. Did he do that? No. He wouldn't take care of anything, didn't let his wife know anything about the money, just stopped paying the premiums. He died and she had nothing.
Well, doesn't that money
That's
go
why I still
towards
pay
like
the
your
premiums.
burial and stuff, or none? That doesn't go to any of that?
No, if you sell it, I own it now. It's my policy on you.
Oh.
But you got the $50,000.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you get. But for somebody, if you need money to take care of yourself, that's not the worst deal in the world. If I've got 6 months to live and I can't work and I don't have money, $50,000 could get me through 6 months or a year. And when I was dead, I wouldn't have anything to pass on, but I wouldn't be passing the burden on.
You just pay off
Right.
all your bills.
Yeah,
That's the main thing.
yeah.
Passing the burden on.
So, he left her with a horrible burden. What happens if I try to carry someone else's load?
Breaks you.
Maybe. Let's say I'm Bruce Wayne. Is it gonna break me to carry all of your loads? Or Tony Stark? Is it gonna break me to carry, could I carry the load of everybody at this table if I was Bruce Wayne or
Sure.
Tony Stark?
We don't know a number, but Elon Musk.
There's
Yeah.
none
If you're
of
Elon
us
Musk.
in that situation.
But what's the worst thing? Much more than that might break me. What's the worst thing that's gonna do?
Makes you
It
lazy,
ruins the
other
person.
person lazy.
Yes, it takes away the God-given requirement to provide for yourself. What's the Bible say about eating?
You don't work, you don't eat.
If you don't work, you don't eat.
That's why there's some millionaires that will not give their kids any money because they
Yeah.
don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah? So we have to be very, very clear about that, because many in the church will say, oh, we just, somebody's always $800 short. We just need to find some way. No. If you're every month $800 short, and you've been that way for the last 5 years, you need to reorient your life.
Living outside of your means.
You can complain that God hasn't given me enough, or you can accept that God's given you what you need, and you need to adjust your wants down to what God says you got. Most of us don't want to do that. So, just a very important thing. I have one other thing that I wanted to look at tonight, and then we can look. We talked last week about this idea of the 2 Timothy 2:2 and 2 Timothy 2:2. Do you remember that discussion? That was last week, right? I want to show you some principles with this, because a lot of times people don't understand this, and I'm going to use myself as an example, because I had from what I see in most people today, a very different introduction to Christianity than most people receive. I'm sorry, I was off work yesterday. These allergies have gotten into my throat and my lungs from all that postnasal drip, and
Yeah.
affecting my voice, and I'm feeling it right now coming on again.
Talking doesn't help.
And coughing doesn't help. The fellow that led me to Christ, Charles Stewart, was a very flawed man. When he finally left the church, it came out that he had been a very immoral man with multiple women and girls in the church.
Wow.
So he was by no means some idealized example, but he was, to me, in every way, other than lying about his character, an ideal mentor. And by the time I got saved, right before my 16th birthday, about a month before my 16th birthday, before I was 17, there was not an adult who wasn't a pastor who I could not out debate about Christianity on almost any topic. Anywhere in the circles, and I was in a lot of different circles. Youth leaders, I'd go to youth groups because I was going, and they'd start in with nonsense, and I'd take them to the scripture, and that's not what the Bible says. This verse. I had been a Christian less than a year, and I was not 17 years old. And the reason is because he discipled me. We would meet, and there were others who joined us, literally, as it says in the book of Acts, 7 days a week. Most of us were farm kids, dairy farm, not vegetable farms. That means, what do you do on a dairy farm?
Cows.
Early.
You milk cows a minimum of twice a day, early morning into the evening. I would get home from school. I had 15 minutes after school to get to the barn, and I would not get out of the barn 7 days a week till 7 o'clock. By 7:30, we would have Bible study or other things, and on any night we didn't, we would have a discipleship meeting,
When did you
and
do
we would go till
homework?
midnight.
When did you do your homework?
Didn't.
Oh,
I like that.
So he,
But you could have been a lawyer, you know, we're peasants here.
he was more or less your master, we'll call it.
He was very much my mentor in that. And he was a harsh one when he needed to be. I remember I mouthed off to someone about something and he heard about it, and man, he dragged me in on the carpet and said, "Who do you think you are?" So it wasn't just that he was, and he said, "I ever hear something like that coming out of your mouth again, you can just cross yourself right out, march out that door and never come back. So you better get yourself in line, kid."
He didn't look in the
Talk
mirror,
about a
did he?
hypocrite.
Well, but
It helped you.
it corrected me.
Yeah.
Tough love.
Yeah. And I needed that, because what happens with a dramatic and almost instantaneous increase in skills?
Pride.
Pride. And that's what drove me to open my mouth and shoot my mouth off, and he saw it, and he wouldn't countenance it.
Wow.
So when I look at scripture, and he had gone to Bible school, he graduated from Clark Summit with his bachelor's in Bible, I think, but the Baptist Bible College at Clark Summit, fundamentalist school. But that isn't where he learned his Bible. He learned his Bible in the Navy by a guy that led him to Christ, and discipled him in the Navy. And he discipled me that way because that all goes back to the navigators. But I made the commitment not just to Christ, but to the mentor. People have often said things like, "Well, you know, we don't have programs." There were almost no programs, and many of the ones that were in this church that predated him were non-biblical. I wasn't in that church because of the programs or the people. I was in the church that I was in because
Teaching.
that's where my mentor was. And I want you to notice something in Acts 15. What happens in Acts 15? What's the theme of Acts 15? That's one of those chapters you should know instantly off the top of your head. Acts 15 is what? In 3 words, or 4 words if you put the article "the" in front of it. What is the theme of Acts 15?
council at Jerusalem.
The Council at Jerusalem. What is decided at the Council of Jerusalem?
Elders and stuff like that.
No.
Circumcision.
Well, kind of.
If you have to
Intertestimony.
become a Jew to become a Christian,
Do you have to become a Jew to become a Christian? Or can you directly become a Christian as a Gentile and not ever become a Jew? That was not a theoretical thing to them. And tucked into that debate is what? Because what does it mean to become a Jew?
Circumcision.
Something more. Because people can be circumcised that have nothing to do.
all the ceremonies, all this.
Do I have to accept the Jewish law and hold myself to the Jewish law? Or can I go right to Christ without going through keeping the Jewish law? And that was the debate they were having.
Now, part of the law would have been.
You mean like the ceremonial law?
The sacrificial, the ceremonial, the dietary, all of those things.
So no more cheeseburgers.
No more cheeseburgers. No more pulled pork.
Oh, come on.
Now you're hitting home.
No
No,
more
I
lobster tail. No more lobster tail or crab legs. That one hurts.
Oh, yeah.
Bacon.
Bacon,
Or
yeah.
shrimp,
Yeah,
the cockroach
nothing
at
is
the
the
sea.
Or
split
shrimp
hoof.
cocktail. Yeah.
Nothing
And
of the
being
split
right in the
hoof, right?
Mediterranean.
And that was what they debated. And they come up with, no, you don't. But I want you to look at the aftermath of that. Look at verse 36.
What did you say, Pastor? Nick was
36.
talking over you.
Oh, my God.
Nick was talking over you.
36.
36 what?
In Acts.
Acts
Yeah.
15,
Yeah.
36.
Look at it.
You were bothering me.
After some days, Paul said to Barnabas,
Oh, shit.
let us return to visit the brethren in every city in which we proclaim the word of the Lord and see how they are. Barnabas wanted to take John, called Mark.
Who's that? Who is that?
Apostle John.
No.
John Mark.
And who's John Mark?
Mark, the gospel.
He's the guy that will eventually write the Gospel of Mark. This is 10 years or so before he does that, but okay. Yep. So, Barnabas wants to take Mark. What is Paul's response?
No.
No. Why?
Because he deserved
He wasn't
it.
reliable.
He didn't, yeah.
Because he wasn't reliable to his mentors. He took them as mentors and they couldn't rely on him. Does it say that he abandoned Christ or that he abandoned the faith or that
No.
he simply stopped being reliable to his mentor? And that canceled him out from being, 2 Timothy 2:2, a reliable man. Barnabas disagrees. Barnabas grabs John Mark and takes off. Paul takes Silas and goes off, immediately finds Timothy. And what happens with Timothy? Timothy becomes the mentee and takes Paul as his mentor. And there they go.
Why would John need to be mentored by Paul when he spent time with Jesus too?
He did not.
So how did he get the account of the gospel?
John Mark, who's called Mark more
Peter's
than John.
gospel. Peter's gospel.
Oh, okay, when
Did-
you said John Mark wrote the gospel, I thought you meant the gospel of John.
No,
No,
the
no,
Gospel
John.
of
Okay,
Mark.
that's what I thought, but
Yeah.
I thought he was giving you something.
No, not the Apostle John, not John the brother. There's a lot of Johns in the New Testament.
Well, yeah, I know, I just thought that's what you were saying.
Because there's the Apostle John, there's
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist,
John the Baptist, and there's,
John Mark.
that would be four, but the third John the brother of Jesus, or I'm sorry,
Joseph.
James.
Oh, yeah.
So there's lots of Johns
And lots of Marys.
and lots of Marys.
But I'm a little confused with.
So John Mark
No,
is
no,
the
no.
person we know as
Mark.
Mark, not John.
But back that up where you said that he eventually went on to write the Gospel of Mark,
He does.
Yeah.
but he didn't spend time with Jesus.
No.
No.
Okay,
Because it
and
was
Peter did, and he
Peter's
wrote what
account.
Peter said down. That's
It
where he
was
got it.
Peter's account.
Mark wrote what Peter said.
okay.
Mark was what's the word?
Scribe.
It starts with an E.
Understudy.
No.
Amanuensis.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have never said that.
Amanuensis.
Nick knew
I
it.
can't even say it.
Nick knew it.
What's an underwriter?
What is a amanuensis? We have a different term today. What is the
Third party.
term we would use for a writer?
Ghost writer.
A ghost writer.
Right, that's it.
Ghost.
I would think of that.
An amanuensis was a person who took an account of someone else and put it into the proper language and wrote it down. Peter was not a fluent Greek speaker. His language was Aramaic. He was a somewhat adequate Greek speaker and writer, but he was not polished at it. So what does John Mark do?
Listens to him and writes it down.
And writes it down in proper Greek format. And so he's the one who writes that gospel, but it's Peter's account. But at this point, he has been unreliable to his mentors. Does John Mark come back toward the end of his life? And in the Timothy's, does Paul talk about John Mark?
Yes,
Yes, he does.
favorably.
Favorably. That John Mark worked his way back in. But before he could be accepted again by Paul, he had to prove that he had learned his lesson.
To be reliable.
To be reliable.
Did with Barnabas.
And he did more with Peter than with Barnabas. But in the intermediate thing before that, what's heard about Barnabas in the rest of the book of Acts?
What's heard about Barnabas?
Yeah,
Nothing.
nothing. What's heard about John Mark in the rest of the book of Acts?
Nothing.
Nothing. So for a time, did John Mark's usefulness to God decline until he could come back up and be. And so we need to understand that being reliable is more than just, oh, I love Jesus and I drift wherever I want to go, but I'm being faithful to the Lord. That's what John Mark did. I'm with Paul and Barnabas, but hey, God's calling me someplace else. Boom, I'm out the door. Paul says no.
Wouldn't some of that be that during that time he wasn't even present with Paul because he was not there?
Right, but he was supposed to be there. He was supposed to be traveling with Paul and apprenticing with Paul.
Right.
And instead he goes, no, I got to go somewhere else and do something else. Do we know what he went to do? No. Does it matter? No. What matters is, Paul said, you committed to being a reliable man to Barnabas and I, and you headed out the door. And I was 16 years old, saved for a month. Guess what Charles Stewart could rely on me for? Anything. Hey, I was at the doctor's and I got detained. They're holding me here. Bible study starts in an hour.
Start it.
What would I do?
Start it up.
I'd be there with the door unlocked, the lights on, the printouts that he wanted done. I was ready. It was ready. Hey, I need something picked up for this in Mansfield, which was 10 miles away. What would happen?
You'd go get it.
Bang, I'd be there and I'd have it on his doorstep. Literally every single minute the church opened, I was there. And then we'd have the Bible studies, the mentorshipping after that. I had a lot of kids that, oh, I don't want to go to the Bible study. I just really like the times afterwards.
The social talk.
Guess what? Guess what happened to them?
Drifted away.
They drifted away, every one of them. Because they didn't understand that to be a reliable person, you had to be somebody that the mentor could rely on. And that's the whole point of 2 Kings with Elijah and Elisha. 2 Kings 2:2, 2 Timothy 2:2. Elijah says, oh, you don't have to worry about me, just go. And what's Elisha say?
I'll never leave you.
I'm with you.
No way. Where you go, I go.
There you go.
I'm crossing the river, I'm crossing the river. I'm crossing it back, I'm crossing it back.
Yep.
And then Elijah goes, what do you want? And what does Elisha say?
Double portion.
I want double the spirit you had. And Elijah goes, woo, that's a little bull, okay? What's the only way you'll get that?
There when he gets taken out.
If you're there and watch me go up, you'll get it. If you're not, you won't. What's that saying to him?
Be reliable. Hang on.
I'm sorry?
Follow me.
Watch him all the time.
If you give up on me being your mentor before that very hour, you're done. If you want this, you have to stick with me to the last second.
I'm guessing God told him what to say, because technically it's not his to give.
But he understood the principles, that a person who proves faithful, one of the things that Charles Stewart said to me all the time, that the person that he respected most in Hollywood was?
The person he respected.
Give us a clue.
I was gonna guess nobody.
Late night.
Johnny
Oh,
Carson.
Not Johnny Carson.
Oh.
Who is this that's saying this?
The fellow that led me to Christ.
Was it one of Johnny's people?
Yes.
Ed McMahon.
Ed McMahon.
Hey.
Why?
He would do everything for Johnny.
Because he never chafed at being faithful under him. Ed McMahon sat there on the Tonight Show and supported Johnny Carson for years and never criticized him or bucked against him or complained about him. He was absolutely faithful as a number two. And by the time Charles led me to Christ in 1975, what was happening with Ed McMahon?
Getting his own shows.
I think he had three different, I don't know, a huge number of shows of his own on TV. He was hosting this show and this show and this show, and guess what he still was? Sitting in that chair supporting Johnny Carson. He was now a name in and of himself. Most people would have said, I don't need you anymore. I'm a big shot now. Ed McMahon sat in that number two chair till Johnny Carson went off the air.
In today's terms, we call that the wingman.
Yeah.
He's your wingman.
And here's the spiritual principles. Go to Luke 10. And Paul, you asked about that, but part of it is we need to understand the principles of God. If you don't understand God's principles, and here's what shortchanges so much in the church, and we're looking at that. I gave statistics Sunday from Barnum about how we are not making resilient Christians of our young people. By 25, 64% of every single child raised in an evangelical or Bible-believing church is gone out the door, probably never to return.
65%, you said?
64, yeah.
64. Wow.
Here's why. We teach them the stories in Sunday school. And then they get a little older and they go, oh, that's the boring stuff. I know all that. Yeah. And right when they need to be transitioning to being in an adult Bible study where they're learning principles, they graduate from youth group and head out the door. And maybe they go to a college and career group that's often very much just youth group for a little older kids. And they don't transition to really getting into understanding principles. It's all stories. It's all facts. Facts don't help you. You need to transition beyond that to the principles behind the facts. You can know the story of Samson. Why is the story of Samson in the Bible?
Because it shows that just because you have power doesn't mean anything.
What's the principle?
Pride.
Perhaps
Betrayal of
pride.
faith.
Compromise.
Yeah.
He compromises how many times with Delilah? Compromise won't get me. I can keep compromising, and that'll never hurt me. Right? That's the principle. So when Elijah understood the principles of God, and what he was trying to teach Elisha was the principles of God. And the principle was, and it's found right here in Luke 10, oh, come on. Where am I?
Not verse 3.
No. I'll bet you I did it again. I did.
Right church home pew.
Yeah. 16:10. I'm sorry. Luke 16:10.
At least it was in Luke.
Yeah. Luke 16:10. I always reverse those. Luke 16:10. Just draw a little line up above the 10 and then put a 10 after it.
I did.
I waited.
Luke 16:10. What's that say?
He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much.
Keep going.
If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches?
Keep going.
And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own?
Two principles there. What are the two principles?
If you're faithful in little, your faith will be faithful in much. So
Number one, you have to be faithful in the little things before God will give you bigger things.
Right.
Well, that should be true in both physical and spiritual.
In everything.
Yeah.
It's a principle. What is a principle? What is the definition of a principle?
God, it beats me with a
Universal rule.
It is, yes, the universality. A principle is a truth that always applies. So when you understand principles, you understand how God always works. The only time that modifies that is if there are two principles that interact, and then they can modify each other. But other than that, a principle always holds true.
different than a general truth.
Yes, a general truth that usually applies. So, in the Proverbs, what are the Proverbs?
General truth.
General truths. The slothful man leads to poverty, the hard worker leads to security. Is that always true?
No, we see so many exceptions and we get frustrated.
Yeah, that's a general truth. It generally holds out. People who work harder generally succeed better than people who don't. But is it always true?
No.
No. There are very slothful people that happen to be in the right spot at the right time and make a killing. There are people that work hard their whole life and they get sick and all of a sudden they lose everything.
Or they work really hard and they just don't have a good job.
And they don't have a good job. And nobody ever recognizes their hard work. I was directing traffic today. Yesterday I stayed home at the school, which I do every morning. Yesterday I stayed home because I was sick. I couldn't even talk. I was coughing continuously. And so I pull up today, and right after I got there, one of the sheriffs pulls up and comes over to help me. He goes, "Yeah, you weren't here yesterday." He goes, "I was here alone." I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "These people are nuts." He goes, "I was standing over in the driveway where the buses have to go up to block the parents from going, and they're running over people in the crosswalk." So I go over to the crosswalk to stop the people, and then parents just start shooting up. He goes, "How do you do it? Do they expect you to do this every day?" I'm like, "Yes." And it's a tough job.
Oh, while you have that real quick, as a prayer request, there was a girl that was walking across the street near my school and this truck came by and hit her. Knocked her down. The other side of the coin is her parents are supposed to be evicted from the state. So when the police came to their door to let them know about her daughter, they would not let the police in or talk to them because they were afraid that they were going to be evicted out of their homes. So they had to have someone from the school go to there and translate and explain what was going on. Right now, she's in the hospital. She's on tubes. So
Messes. Oh my God.
There was also another
I
one
have,
over in
I have
Woodland,
I have a vest, reflectorized vest that one of the resource officers gave me. And I often joke and I say, why did they give me this vest?
So they can pick you
So
out
the
for
target.
bullseye.
So that they can see me clearly to aim at me well. But, do I get recognized for that by most people? No.
They probably get mad at
If
you.
anything, yeah, they don't like.
Yeah, and I often take flack for it, for doing things that people, yell and scream and say that I did things because, I tell them, they're way over there and they won't, and I yell out, hey, you can't, and they go, he yelled at me. We're in a parking lot, what do you want me to do? You wouldn't roll your window down. But what is the biblical principle of that? Who's watching other than the principal or the superintendent or the board members or the... And what's God say about that? He can be trusted with...
Well, we'll trust with more.
So again, that's why the Bible says, does soda help you better than water? With that?
Just
Lung stuff.
Does soda help you better than water?
He asked you if soda would help you better than water.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
You're good with
Okay.
water.
I'm fine.
I can't do water, I need the soda to clear the stuff out of my throat. That fizz is the best thing in the world.
allergies this week has been no joke. I like lost my voice.
Oh, it's horrible. So that's the principle. And that principle always applies. God is always watching, and when he sees us being faithful, he's keeping track.
Oh, yeah.
When will some people see the results of that?
With God or with other
If they get to
people?
heaven.
Yeah, in eternity.
Yeah.
Other people will see it in the short term. Does God sometimes make sure that comes to light and people get recognized in this life? Yes. Does that always happen? No. But God always says that. But here's the second principle. And what's the second principle?
And if you're dishonest,
No, that's part of that first principle. What's the second principle?
If you have not been faithful.
No,
That's the same thing.
same thing, just that two sides of the coin.
Reversed. Yeah.
No servant can serve two masters.
No,
We haven't gotten there yet.
yeah, we stopped at 12, so it has to be right between there.
When they get with the program.
what's the second principle? First
If you have-
principle is you have to be faithful in little things. If you're unfaithful in little things, you disqualify yourself for great things. What's the second?
If you haven't been trustworthy with other people's property.
If you haven't been faithful in someone else's ministry or work, you do not qualify to have your own. So one of the questions that the fellow that led me to Christ always used to ask is, have you been Ed McMahon? Have you been Ed McMahon? Who's the spiritual leader that you were their Ed McMahon? That they could count on you being there to support what they were doing. That when they were teaching something, you would be right there ready to jump in and support, and you would be a person, because if you're trying to build a ministry, what's the most important thing? People that, when people who aren't discipled show up, see people who are eager to be discipled, because that sets the pattern for them. If they show up and there are people there that are going lackadaisical, they'll do one of two things, and that is
Leave.
Or stay.
Or
Be lackadaisical.
learn to be lackadaisical.
Yeah.
Right? Does the teacher or preacher determine what they see with that?
No.
No, it's followers. What determines, you pray for revival, what determines revival, the preacher or the audience?
I would say both.
God.
The audience.
Yeah.
The audience. Now, that is contingent on that the preacher is preaching faithfully.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
So if you have a person who is preaching faithfully, that doesn't determine. Teaching faithfully, praying faithfully, that doesn't determine revival. What determines revival?
The audience.
Continue.
The response of the audience.
As long as the preacher is preaching
As
godly.
long as, and here's my example, Paul. Was Paul faithful wherever he went?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that the testimony of Acts and the letters and
Yeah.
all of that?
Sure.
Okay. What was the response in Thessalonica?
One of the places they stoned him.
Well, Thessalonica, they grew really fast.
They had the greatest New Testament revival that's recorded in the New Testament. You want to look at a pattern for revival, look at 1 Thessalonians 1. That is the pattern, that is the greatest New Testament revival recorded. Paul then preaches in Corinth. Was there the greatest revival in the New Testament in Corinth?
I don't think so.
Well, there can only
Well, they
be one
stoned him.
greatest.
What?
There can only be one greatest.
But, and he stayed there 18 months. He was only a maximum of 27 days in Thessalonica. Corinth, he stays 18 months. Was there a great and overpowering?
No,
Every word he writes to the Corinthians is what?
correction.
You people are screwing up. I don't even know how you're doing this screw up. Did you practice to learn to be this much of a screw up? What determined that? Paul's preaching? Their
People.
response. Paul goes to Athens. Was there a great revival in Athens? He preaches this marvelous, one of the longest sermons in the book of Acts on Mars Hill.
To the unknown God.
Yeah.
The unknown
It
God.
said that some wanted to hear more, but others
Yeah.
dismissed it.
And a few believed.
Yeah.
Was there a great revival in Athens?
No.
Why? Because Paul didn't preach a masterful sermon? Because
Audience.
the audience didn't respond in faith. So the pews determine what God does, not the pulpit.
Can I ask you something that's going to probably sound terrible? I probably know your answer. But if Charles Stewart was stringing along all of these different women at the same
girls.
time, I would assume,
Yes.
then did that make you feel used, that there might have been times when he said, hey, go and pick this up or start the Bible study because I can't be there? And I guess it made no difference to you because you were still doing what you were supposed to.
Yep. Yeah. It broke my heart
Yeah.
because I owed him so much. And people say, oh, did you go to school to be a pastor? Yes, I went to 3 years of seminary. And the little tiny bit I learned in seminary is nothing about what makes me a pastor today. Everything that I learned that I needed to be a pastor, I was mentored by Charles Stewart.
And he was the guy here before you?
No, he was the pastor at the Roseville Yoked Parish, a United Methodist and Baptist church meeting together in the little town of Roseville.
Two different churches met together?
Yep.
Wow.
6 months in one building, 6 months in the other building.
Well, they
Neither
still have
one.
that at your mom's at Coreyland, right? Didn't they have Presbyterian then?
And they only had one building there,
Right,
and it was
they
a
had one
Presbyterian
building.
and Baptist church together.
Mm-hmm.
2 separate memberships, 2 separate congregations, 1 service, 1 pastor, 1 building.
The guy who led.
Why? Because they couldn't afford, people weren't willing to give up being, but they couldn't afford a pastor. So that was how they did it. And that's how the churches stayed open.
God made it happen.
And the Baptists never called a preacher because how long does it take to call a Baptist preacher?
I'm sure this is a joke.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No?
How long does it take to call a Baptist preacher? 2 years? That's why Baptists have what? I'm trying to bypass that by slowly backing off here and bringing somebody in, so I'm effectively being my
Oh,
own.
that's why they have interim.
Sabbaticals.
And they have an
Sabbaticals,
interim
yeah.
pastor. So when a Baptist pastor resigns, you bring in an interim pastor prepared to be there for a year to two while you do a search for a permanent pastor.
Like we're gonna begin an interim superintendent.
Yeah, same thing. How long does it take to call a Methodist pastor?
You just switch them from one.
1 second.
Yeah.
They say, John, you're out, Tim, you're in. Boom. Actually, now it's Mary, you're out, Martha, you're in most of them. But that's a different thing. But anyway, so every time they were supposed to go Baptist, Methodist, Baptist, Methodist for pastors, but the Methodists say, hey, we're moving Mary down the road. Back then it was actually men. We got John that can come in tomorrow, or you can start calling a Baptist pastor. And what would the people say?
Call the Baptist pastor.
Oh, just let the Methodists come in. So I think we had 6 or 8 Methodist pastors in a row there. But we had Charles Stewart, who went to an independent fundamentalist Baptist college and got drawn into the United Methodist Church because there was a very conservative DS up there who wanted Bible teaching people. And he was disillusioned with the fundamentalist movement because of some of the things they did at Baptist Bible College.
He wouldn't last a day in a Methodist church now.
No, and the district superintendent, Dick, what was his last name? Dick something. He'd have been out on his ear even faster. Correct. Although that's not entirely true, because what's happening to the United Methodists today?
Yeah, they're splitting.
They are splitting.
Yeah, that's
And the
why I
United
said
Methodist is
normal.
going to have about 40% of the number of people that they had at a couple of years ago before it's all done. Because congregations are pulling out and it is a mess.
Well, where are they going?
They are forming a new Methodist fellowship. I forget the name of it, but it's more biblical than the United Methodist. At least it is saying we're not going to kowtow to the Rainbow Coalition. We're not going to endorse homosexuality, transsexualism, any of the other nonsense
Wow.
that's going on.
Oh, that's awesome. They're doing it for scriptural reasons.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm guessing by the time they get done, 60% of the attenders at Methodist churches will be out and will be part of this new fellowship. And it is a war, because the Methodists want them to pay all kinds of money in to get out. And it's been dragging in court, and it's a mess, a huge mess. Because Methodist congregations don't own their property, the conference does.
Oh, yeah. That's gonna be a mess to decide who gets what.
And that's not just the Methodists, that's anything that's Methodistic, including what group, Mabel?
Presbyterians are much better.
Not much better, but the Christian Missionary Alliance, which has traditionally been a very conservative group, but they are Methodistic in organization, and they are wandering from the faith dramatically compared to when I was younger. And they own the buildings, and they're throwing out pastors and just closing the churches. The church that she attended at their cabin, when her and Bob had a cabin up in Pennsylvania, or went to it all the time in the summer, they literally closed the church, wouldn't allow him to buy it, threw him out, wouldn't allow him to have another church, wouldn't sell the parsonage to him, and wanted him kicked out into the street because he wanted to preach out of the Bible and not just tell stories. And his, whatever title they have for the bishop, like person there.
District supervisor, yeah.
I'm sorry?
DS.
The district superintendent, told him, stop preaching out of the Bible. That's not what people want to hear. Preach from stories, tell testimonies, give stories and illustrations, and don't quote the Bible. And when he said no, they closed the church and threw him out. And it was so bad that his atheist neighbor bought the parsonage. And they'd sell it to an atheist, but they wouldn't sell it to the pastor, who'd been there for years. And then turned around and gave it to the pastor.
Oh.
That's how horribly he saw the church.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the parsonage, it was the building right across the street on the same corner.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
atheist neighbor gave him the parsonage?
No,
the-
no, it wasn't the parsonage. It was the
gave him a
house
house,
right
I'm sorry.
across the street from it.
Yeah.
And they tried their hardest to make him leave that, but they couldn't, he
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah,
It's sad when the atheist is more godly than
Yeah.
godly people.
what was the verse we looked at in John? There will come a day when the people who kill you think they're doing God a service.
Yep.
And we're in those days.
Well, that was Paul's day.
Methodists are from Charles
When he was
Wesley,
sold.
right?
Correct. Oh, well, technically in America from,
Is it Charles Wesley?
not Charles Wesley.
Oh.
Charles was the younger brother. He started
John
the-
Wesley.
It was John Wesley.
Oh, John Wesley. I knew it was Wesley.
John Wesley was a missionary to America, went back without ever having made a single convert. He abandoned his field. Privately chartered or bought a ticket on a boat and sailed back to England. He said, I have not made a single convert in 5 years. There's no reason for me to be here. You expect me to do nothing and win no one. And I refuse to continue to play the charade. He went back to England, and he went to his younger brother's Bible study, and then he went to a reading of the book of Romans, that a group was reading the prologue to Luther's introduction to the book of Romans, and he heard about justification by faith and actually got saved. His testimony says, my heart was strangely warmed as they read the words of the introduction by Martin Luther to the book of Romans. And he was converted. And Charles is better known for, people, you should know that, not for his preaching, but for his
music.
Yeah, his hymn writing. He was the
Hymns.
Methodist hymn writing. Yeah, he was the Methodist hymn writer. John was the preacher. And of course, the other big Methodist person, and they're the biggest ones here, was not Wesley, but
Swingley?
Whitfield,
Whitfield.
George
I was gonna
Whitfield.
say that. 'Cause they
And
met
then
up in college and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Because he came to America. They were all part of the same group. Anyway, so those are the two things. So the question, I can answer that question. Who is it that you were faithful in someone else's property? Charles Stewart's. And I was there through 3 years, and as everything started coming out, and Charles Stewart snuck out of town as the truth was being revealed and left the church dying or dead, probably. Who stepped in?
You.
I did.
Praise God.
And even though I was 20 years old, 19 years old, I was elected as the interim pastor.
Wow. And
And I pastored that church for a year. Held it together. Did the Bible studies. All the time going to college full time.
Wow.
More than full time. Overloads because I graduated in 3 years instead of 4. And when I was done, the church was healthy enough that they could hire a new pastor, and a new pastor came in as I was going off to seminary. And that church is still open today. It's changed a lot. It's gone through a lot of different incarnations, but that church is still open today. And it was going to die. There wasn't a person there that wasn't ready to walk out the door when they found out all the details of what was going on. And I could, with all honesty, the one thing he did, and there were a lot of other people who apparently knew and were covering up for him, the one person that he made sure never found out anything was me. Because he knew that as faithful as I was to him as a mentor, the day that it came out that that was happening, I wasn't gonna stay faithful to that. Because you do not choose your mentor over God.
No.
And if your mentor says, let's take a left turn away from God, that's where you part put.
Mhm.
Do we understand those principles?
Yep.
Hey, God bless. Have a
Yes.
great week.
Have a great
Good
night,
night, all.
everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
See y'all.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good night, everybody. God bless.